from Kern Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Flores.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Okay, good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, 9 a.m. meeting of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. We will begin today's meeting with the flag salute led by Supervisor Philip Peters. Following the Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing for a moment of prayer, silence, meditation, or whichever you prefer.
Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on our Director, Nick Cullen of Animal Services Department, to introduce our Pet of the Week.
Good morning, Chairman Flores, members of the board. Nick Cullen, Director of Kern County Animal Services. Our Pet of the Week this morning is Astrid. I know she's tough to see behind the podium, but she's a beautiful dog. She's about a 5-year-old German Shepherd. And she's an older dog to be in the shelter, so we have a special place in our hearts for her. And she's available for adoption right now at the Kern County Animal Shelter. She's a sweet and loving dog and gets along with just about everybody she comes across.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll begin by considering the consent agenda. Agendas are located on the tables near the doors for anyone wishing to follow along. All items listed with the CA above the item number considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding any item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. A member of the public may also comment on any closed session item. I will read the consent agenda item numbers now. Okay, on page 2, items 3, 4, and 5. On page 3, items 6 through 11. On page 4, items 12 through 18. On page 5, items 19 through 25. On page 6, items 26 and 27. Would anyone from the public like to comment or ask questions on the consent agenda? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to be able to discuss item 6, or correction, item 8. Request that you take it out of the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public would like to speak on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, would any board members like to comment on an item or have it removed from the agenda? Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, sir, Supervisor.
I'll ask for separate consideration of item 8.
Okay. Okay, would we have a second on that?
Is that a motion?
I think that was a
I'll
motion.
move approval of the consent calendar with separate consideration for item 8.
Okay, so we have a motion on consent with consideration on item number 8.
I'll second that.
And second. Okay, members, cast your vote.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, so next item is the board will now consider item number 1 under public presentations. Okay, this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members will respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making your presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Flores and Board of Supervisors. My name is Vince Mayoko. For nearly a year, I've made a number of appearances to these supervisor meetings. I have publicly voiced my displeasure of our county election office and its contract with the Dominion voting system. Last night, concerned Kern County voters met for a community forum headed up by former New Mexico State University professor, Mr. David Clements. Though Professor Clements will not say this personally, he is an expert on the many inadequacies of the vote counting machines. He spoke to us last night, and we were left with a clear message that these vote counting machines must be done away with. I invited each of you, Amy Espinoza, and other elected and appointed Kern County officials to last night's forum, either by text message or by email. Only one elected official responded to my personal invitation. And to my knowledge, not one single Kern County official attended last night's forum. Your silence and non-attendance to this event last night was loudly heard by all of us. With that said, I am requesting a few things from you moving forward. First, you should invite Professor David Clements to the tabled February 28th Board of Supervisors meeting where he can serve as an expert witness on the Dominion voting system. If you truly listen to his presentation, you will reach a conclusion that the contract with Dominion must be terminated. The County of Kern must return to hand counting election ballots, much like the country of France does. France can count over 40 million ballots and have an elected winner by midnight of election day. Following me will be a number of people who attended last night's forum. Do the right thing, and please listen thoroughly to what your constituents have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, board chairman and fellow board members. Happy New Year, and congratulations to Mr. Flores on becoming supervisor for District 3 and chairman of the board this year. My name is Ricardo Del Hoyo, first name Ricardo, last name Delhoyo. And I'm here today, one, as the lead rep for United Domestic Workers, and number two, as a student of the Community Scholars Program through UCLA. So just here to state that 8,000 home care providers are asking this board to direct your negotiators to give us a fair contract, give us better wages, give us better benefits, because we don't have any benefits. So home care workers do both the mental and the physical. We've got a couple of speakers here today. If I can have Laura Flores. I'm gonna translate for Laura, but she'll be our second speaker. And we're just hoping that in this new year with this new chairmanship, we hope that you're better than the predecessor, not only the previous chairman, but also the previous supervisor in District 3, which we tried to meet with them, never could meet with them. I do want to thank Mr. Flores for his staff for getting back to us. We're in the works to schedule a meeting with you, so thank you so much. And I did see Supervisor Perez and Mr. Flores at the MLK breakfast, so I do want to thank you guys for being there. If we talk about social justice, if we talk, oh, sorry, and Mr. Peters, if we talk about social justice and we talk about all these things that, you know, income inequality, if we talk about racial justice, social justice, women's rights, We just did a women's march out in the Central Coast this weekend with United Domestic Workers. So you can't just go to these events and then not work on those things. So I did have a joke for Mr. Flores. I said, it's great to have 2 tennis players on the Board of Supervisors. So
Thank you.
thank you. Ms. Flores, if you want to come in.
Thank you, Mr. De La Hoya.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Muy buenos días, mi nombre es Laura Flores. Soy proveedor de IHCs, orgullosamente miembro de UDW. Algunos ingresaron a esta línea de trabajo debido a circunstancias impredecibles en las que alguien a quien amaba repentinamente se enfermó o sufrió un accidente, mientras que otros se unieron a este trabajo después de cuando un valioso trabajo para aquellos a quienes servimos.
So Laura Flores is an IHSS provider, proud union member, and some people, start doing home care because of a need, because their family member needs the assistance, or because they truly are, about taking care of the community. So
Hoy esta mañana estamos aquí para pedir que nos aumenten el sueldo. Necesitamos un aumento de sueldo, necesitamos más beneficios, una aseguranza, porque, por ejemplo, yo personalmente no tengo aseguranza médica. También me enfermo y cuando yo me enfermo, pues es muy difícil para mí. Estamos aquí para pedir que nos ayuden, que nos apoyen. Nuestro trabajo es muy pesado y necesitamos mucha ayuda de ustedes.
So, like I said, some people came into this work due to unpredictable circumstances, but the case is that we don't have any kind of health insurance, dental insurance, or vision insurance. And so as a provider, as a worker in Kern County, I think I deserve some sort of benefit because I work day in and day out.
Mi viaje como cuidador comenzó en un abrir y cerrar de ojos cuando mi esposo y yo conducíamos a casa de la iglesia. Veníamos de regreso y vimos a un hombre sin un hogar, estaba en la calle y estaba siendo abusado por una mujer verbalmente.
So her journey started as a home care provider. When they were coming back from church, they saw a blind man in the street. They stopped over and took him in their home.
Okay.
Cuando
your
nos
time has
acercamos-
come- Oh, no. Oh, 4. Okay.
Cuando nos acercamos a él, notamos que estaba ciego y después de un rato mi esposo y yo decidimos que queríamos ayudarlo y lo llevamos a vivir a casa con nosotros. No me enteré de IHCs hasta después, cuando lo llevé a ver a algunos médicos para que lo empezaran a atender. Se quedó con nosotros durante 10 meses. Lo cuidamos, le dimos calidad de hogar, calidad de familia. Durante este tiempo tuvo cirugía de sus ojos y él volvió a mirar.
After taking care of him for 10 months, the person that was blind has recovered and is now, fully, his vision is restored.
Me tomó varios meses, pero eventualmente pasó a estar completamente de ciego a recuperar un 75% de su visión. Durante todo ese tiempo usaríamos mi pago de IHCs para ayudar a pagar su teléfono, todas sus necesidades.
Yes. During this 10-month brief period, I used my own IHSS payroll money that I was getting paid through the program to continue taking care of him so we can get him back to health.
Leobardo falleció el 25 de septiembre del 22 por causas no relacionadas, pero el tiempo que pasamos con el cambio y rumbo de su vida y de nuestra familia, todo esto para decirle que los proveedores de IHCs son parte de nuestra solución para la seguridad pública.
Unfortunately, her client, consumer Leobardo, passed away on the 25th of September of 2022, but she has continued to be an IHSS worker and now takes care of somebody else.
Ma'am,
What-
your time has come to an end. You want to wrap up comments kindly?
Puede que no tengamos una insignidad brillante ni recibimos el pago de una pensión, pero cambiamos y mejoramos la vida de las personas cada día y merecemos el pago que viene con una responsabilidad y trabajo, que es muy duro nuestro trabajo. Gracias.
We just hope that we can be compensated for the hard work that we do and dignified in the work that we do.
Thank you, Mrs. Flores. Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Supervisors. My name is Pastor Angelo Frazier, Angelofrazier. And thank you, Mr. Jeff Flores, for your new position. And I just want to share a little bit. I am not a conspiracy theorist. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., I've seen elections and political stuff for the last 60-something years of my life. About in 2020, I was at the Republican downtown meeting when they had the election, and everybody knows that something happened. Something was a little odd, and I don't know what just happened. I know when I went to bed, it was saying this. When I got up 6 hours later, everything had flipped and it was saying that. And then I watched our elections over the years and just seeing how things are going, and I just think, is it possible that we can get back to voting and counting votes on the same day? I watched the supervisors race and all these kind of things, and they seem to be held up for a long, long time. It just seems like these machines, it appears to be these machines are not doing what they were intended to do. You know, I played a little basketball, as you probably could tell, and imagine that you shoot the game winner, but you got to wait months to find out who won the game. There's something wrong with our system. Elections are no surprise to anyone. They come periodically every 2 years, every 4 years. But it seems like we're getting worse at it. So I pray that we go back to the day that when we vote, we count and we know who wins, and we can celebrate on the day that someone has run effectively and won effectively. And I think that will instill public trust. I pray for you guys. Please examine these systems. I, too, was at the meeting the other night. I'm the vice president of the Greater Bakersfield Republican Assembly, and I listened to Dr. Davis speak, and it just raised up something in me that something is wrong.
Thank you, Pastor. Can you wrap up your comments, please?
Yeah, something is wrong, so please look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for the basketball analogy. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Ralph Robles, and I am a veteran. And at your last meeting, I presented a number of questions about our last election. However, I was remiss in adding some more. Among the questions that I should have added was, why was the same method of ballot count used in the latest recount that you authorized? And how many dead people voted in this election? I understand it was something like 193 in the previous one. How many ballots were harvested? Now that number should be easy to develop because the signatures alone will tell you. Also, your clerk stated that the drop boxes were positioned near surveillance cameras. However, no one has ever seen even a portion of the so-called videos of those surveillance cameras. My understanding is that the drop boxes are located so that the cameras are misdirected and you cannot get a good view of who is approaching it, which again, as I said before, is an invitation for harvesting, or better yet, for ballot stuffing. Now, I have requested over and over that this board authorize a forensic audit, because that is the only type of audit that will give you a true picture of what took place in the ballot count. And further, I would like to add to the previous speaker that not only do we go back to a hand count, but that the counts be
Thank you.
localized to each ballot location.
Thank you, Mr. Robles. Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to all the board and everybody up here. My name is Vera Gooden. I am an IHSS worker, been an IHSS worker since 2006, started with a family member. Didn't want to do this job. It was so hard. And then I became very professional in doing that. It says one of the items today on the agenda is the amendment of the California Department of Aging and Older Americans Acting Fund. Once again, we will see that the state of California is doing their part by increasing program allowance just as they did with wages. When will Kern County do their part? So I'm here just to talk about wages, talk about IHSS, talk about us being caregivers and people out there that needs the help, and we fit the criteria in doing it because I can't walk in y'all's shoes and y'all can't walk in my shoes. So we all got to stand in the parts, in the places where we need to be and help everybody. I've been up here numerous times asking for a raise. The first time I came up here, it was 40 cents. And then in the 40 cents, okay, y'all decided to give us 10 cents more, and now we have 50. I'm still here about that $2.50. Can I get close to it? I need to get close to it. And, you know, it's something that needs to be done. We don't have no benefits. We don't have no health plan, no visual. You know, I have to go outside of where I work to get glasses to be able to see y'all and even talk to y'all, to address y'all. And all my supporters here, again, we need all this. I can't do it by myself, so I bring people with me to stand with me because I don't like standing alone. That's why we're in the union. We got to work together.
Thank you, Ms.
that
Goodman.
is the best thing that I can do.
Thank you for your comments.
You guys have a great day.
You too. And thank you for the work you do. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
My name is O.C. Crawford, and I don't need to spell my name. Anyway, I'm not here doing business as usual. I'm here to make a statement in representing millions of people, patriots in America. We want you guys to defund the Dominion machines. We want our country back. You all are paid by us, the people. You work for us. The Constitution says you are to govern according to the will of the people. So, and we expect you all to do that. So this is not a request. This is a statement that we expect you to carry out because it's your constitutional responsibility. So we want you all to defund the voting machines in Kern County. That's something within your power. So please do it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Can we hold applause so we can run the meeting more efficiently? Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chairman Flores, Supervisors. I'm David Hartley. I came here to speak upon election integrity also. First thing I want to do is ask everybody to stand up that's here for election integrity. So I'm going to be short, but I'm going to explain a couple of things. We know that the governor and the legislature control the fact that we have mail-in ballots. We don't have to like it, but we're stuck with that. But you guys have some control here too. And the gentleman before me hit on what the answer is. Defund the machines. Let the elections office sort out what they do. And they're gonna have to go to another means other than the machines if you stop funding it. I was here in the spring and I watched Amy Espinoza come in and game you guys right before the primary, which you won easily, congratulations. But she came to you guys with a funding request for demanding at the last minute because she knew that if she came at the last minute, there simply wouldn't be any debate on it and you guys wouldn't have any choice but to fund it. So we're here now, we've got some time, and we should give some serious consideration to defunding the machines, let the elections office sort it out, let them show some transparency, which they haven't been. Amy Espinoza has been very defiant the times that I've seen her before the board. She doesn't return phone calls. She won't engage with the media. So there's something going on down there, and I don't know what it is, but the machines are definitely a problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hartley. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. It was a pleasure and an honor to see most of you at the prayer breakfast today. May God continue to bless us as we look to him for guidance. My name is Mary Little. We are in a crisis. We all know with the way our local elections are run. You know it, we all know it. You have heard the problems many times before. So we declare that if you don't act now, then by admission, you are an accomplishment to the fraud that's going on in this county. Please act and protect those who you serve. We are the people. We want honest representation. We, the people, want justice. We demand that the Dominion machines be abolished. Bring paper ballots back. Freedom is not free. We must live like it. We must believe it. Whatever the cost, we must pay it at this time for the future of Kern County and the future of our children.
Thank you, Mrs. Little. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Mary Hernandez, and I'm a caregiver of 15 years with IHSS, and I'm a proud member of UDW. And I wanted to say, I see a lot of people in today's agenda that are moving forward and to invest in our county. And I see a lot of investing in security cameras at Camp Owen, increasing staff into our mental health services as needs grow, purchasing an additional maintenance and law enforcement vehicles, and investments in public safety, right? This is why the increase of wages of home care workers not on the list. We do have an ever-growing senior population in our county. We do not need to address our aging population and caregiver shortage. How do you expect more care workers to join the field to keep the people at home rather than on the streets, in shelters, in overwhelmed senior centers, county hospitals, or worse? If any of the providing any investments of our workforce, you keep investing in the county dollars on more surveillance, probation officers, sheriffs. You're funding on based aid solutions, while the true roots causes of the public safety problems go unaddressed. Invest in our resources, prevent people from losing their homes in our first place. Invest in the communities outside of the Bakersfield, because of the neighbors outside of the city also need resources. And if you're not going to do it yourselves, help those who are doing the work. Home care providers are help line in our seniors to lose living with disabilities. Home care workers are public safety, and it's time to invest in our workforce too. We need better benefits. We need more wages. I'm a mother of 6. It hasn't been easy for me.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. You want to bring your comments to a close?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, board members. My name is Idayana Cornelius. I'm a provider from California City and a member
Excuse me,
of...
can you spell your name for me, please?
I like India, D like David, A like apple, Y like yellow, A like apple, N like Nancy, A like apple.
Thank you.
And I'm a provider from California City, and I'm a UDW member from Kern County. I'm a provider for my 2 children. My 2 boys are autistic, and they cannot talk. So I need benefit for dental insurance and vision insurance. Before I was working, so I can provide them for my children and for myself. And now I'm living by myself with my 2 children, so it's hard for us to survive with all the payment and co-payment because the kid is growing up, and then I have nothing on my own as a provider to get benefit on that. And my son is a special need, and we need extra care for him. Assist him all the time, and sometimes I need to pay somebody because 2 of them already a teenager, and I cannot control their strength. So as a mother, it's so hard for us to survive with the lowest pay in the country. We love our children, that's why we taking care of them for life. But we need a better benefit for us so we can care of our loved one more better because, some of them is really cannot fight for themselves. And as a mother, we have to stand by them to fight for them for life. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Allison Boer, ALLISONBOER, and I've been a resident of Kern County for a little over 9 years. However, this is the first time that I am meeting here with you, the Board of Supervisors, so I thought I'd take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about myself and my family so that you can get to know me a little bit more, because you'll be seeing me here quite often until the people's work is done. I come from a family of business owners, interior decorators, hairstylists, contractors, electricians, and for my husband, he owns a wholesale plumbing business here in town. So we know what it's like to work for the people. They have a need, they have a demand, we fulfill them with the product, all at an honest price and doing it with a smile, because we know without our customers, we would have nothing. So here's where you come into this story. You work for we the people, David, Zach, Jeff, Philip, and Letitia. You work for we the people. I personally spend hours listening and watching sworn testimony all across this country of patriots like myself that have been personally seen election fraud. I've watched symposiums that without a shadow of doubt that these elections machines are no good for the United States of America and should be banned if we ever want America to survive. These machines are robbing us of our freedom. They're robbing us of our voice. So here today, I demand that you as the Board of Supervisors defund the voting machines and the electronic poll pads. It shouldn't be a hard decision. And any of you to defund, it shouldn't be a hard decision for any of you to defund these machines because it's not your money, it's our money. We have the receipts. And we want our refund. We want to call on your resignations if you do not defund these machines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is David Clements. I was the invited guest that gave a 3-hour presentation on the vulnerabilities of Dominion yesterday, in which you all were invited to. I was able to speak with one of your supervisors here, and we, in 2 hours, scratched the surface of the problems. And what I want to state right from the outset is the unspoken elephant in the room, which is your word, efficiency. Is it efficient that we're still talking about these elections 3 years, 2 years after the fact? That's not efficient. And it's a travesty. Sir, I'm talking to you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I know you are.
2 minutes. You're affording people 2 minutes, which is so short a time, it's all but impossible to articulate a concept or a coherent thought. And the result is you have a bunch of people in here rushing before you to get their thoughts out, and they look like servile monkeys. It's demeaning to your constituents because you're not hearing what they have to say. And it's not about efficiency, it's about solving the problem. And when we got our brothers and sisters over here with the labor unions, they want their voice to be heard. It's the same thing. The greatest property interest that we have in this country is our voice, and it's represented through our vote. Do not demean our votes. Do not demean the process. You need to sit here and hear these folks out, and you should have heard us last night, and you need to put this issue on the agenda to have independent experts talk to you about the vulnerabilities of Dominion, because while you can't solve everything, you don't have the powers of the Secretary of State, you do have the power of the purse. And if you decide to renew this contract with Dominion Voting Systems, where the CEO committed perjury by lying to the Michigan legislature, by lying about the remote access capabilities, that the former Vice President, Eric Coomer, a member of Antifa, was helping in the orchestration of our elections, does
Mr.
not
Clemens,
inspire
Mr.
public
Clemens,
trust.
You want to bring your comments to a close, please?
I'm going to take the time because this is reporting a crime, and the law enforcement actually needs to hear this. So
Yeah, I know,
please
but
afford
I know,
me.
but please bring your-
afford me with the respect.
I've afforded you 20 seconds extra of respect.
No,
but you have to
no.
bring your comments to a close, please.
I will.
But this
I
item,
will, but I'm going to bring this. You're illustrating my point. You have a choice right now to either be a tyrant or
I'm
someone that
not a
serves.
tyrant. This is democracy, and you're allowed to speak.
No,
but
it's a republic.
You've exceeded
It's a constitutional
I know.
republic.
I'm not going to get into a history argument, but you've exceeded the time under our rules. So next speaker, please, and thank you.
No,
but you
I'm
can
not
come
done.
back and
Let me-
speak.
I will wrap up, but you're interrupting me.
But
So let me wrap
you can
up.
come back and speak under
Let
the
me wrap
item,
up.
because when the item comes, we do give more than 2 minutes.
You don't have it on the agenda. It's 2023. You have not put this on the agenda since 2020.
And when it comes before us in its proper order, when it's agendized in its time, we will give more time to that item. This is just public comments right
I
now.
flew from New Mexico. I'm not going to come back.
I know, I
unless-
can't control your travel schedule, but your time is up, sir. Next speaker.
I'm going to finish my point, please. I'm going to finish my point. I will be heard. You understand?
Next speaker, please.
No.
Next
No.
speaker, please.
I'm the next speaker. I'm going to render my time.
Thank you.
You can't.
You have the
Okay.
power and the authority to enlarge the time to hear the voice of the people.
You're over a minute and 30 seconds.
No, because it's you talking.
We don't.
Because it's you talking
No,
now.
we don't transfer time here. Next
Why not?
speaker. Next speaker, please. Order. Next speaker.
You're out of order.
I'm not out of order.
You're out of order.
He finished an hour. He finished. He finished. He finished.
You're out of order.
I'm. Next speaker, please. Next speaker. Next speaker, please. I'm not a dictator. I work for you, but next speaker, and I work for him, and he's afforded his time. He's next, Mister.
How many folks here will afford me more time?
He's got about 30 minutes, I'd say.
Demonstrate real servant leadership by letting me finish.
Servant leadership is predicated on the rules.
Tyrannical, because you're not hearing a word we have to say.
Next
We're
speaker,
rushing
please.
here, and we're talking about national security issues here. We're talking about crimes.
I know,
Over
sir.
70% of your constituents believe these machines are rigged.
Sir,
and you're doing nothing about
we'll
it.
get to that when the item is
will not
heard.
get to it.
We
You
will
haven't
get to it.
gotten to it.
The item is heard. We will get to that. You'll have more time. Next speaker, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Just afford me the respect to finish my thoughts.
Next speaker, please. Okay, you've exceeded your time, sir. The next speaker is right behind you in
There's
queue.
no time limitation on reporting a crime.
No, you are being rude now because you're taking away from his time and from this process of the Board of
Don't you
Supervisors.
dare lecture me about
I'm not
civility.
lecturing you.
Don't you
He's
dare
next.
lecture
He's
me about
next. I know you want the camera. I know you want time. Mr. Lefenstein, your next speaker, please. Please come. Thank you.
You have a responsibility to not renew a contract for a fraudulent criminal election device. What are you going to do about
When that item is heard, you can come speak to that item. But right now, this is public
Is that
comment.
item on the
This is
agenda
public comment. The public comment has been exceeded. Yeah. Public comment is exceeded. Next speaker, please. Otherwise, we'll take a 10-minute recess.
She's next.
Okay, Duetta Riley.
Thank you.
What I want to say is this was scheduled at a prior meeting to be on the agenda today, and you discreetly pulled it off. This gentleman came to talk on it, and now you're not allowing him to finish his statement. This is really important, and you're lying. I can promise you we get this 2-minute bullshit.
Ma'am,
And it's
ma'am,
on the
ma'am,
agenda.
Please watch your language, ma'am.
Don't tell me what I can say. It's free speech. America first. We're done with this. It's over. No more. You better get transparent like a diamond.
because we're not taking it, we're not buying it. And where's Amy today? She didn't want to talk on this issue. Boy, I don't blame her. Go Amy girl, because this is hot water. The world is watching. I already told you Q's coming. You want to hear something? He caught this stuff back in 2020 lifetime, and you still want to pretend Biden won? It's just over. This gentleman gave a presentation that had you bothered to show up to watch last night. You would never put that Dominion machine back on this agenda, let alone fund it. This is America first. This is our country. You work for us or you can get out of that chair and somebody else will replace you, and they will work for us or they'll get out of that chair. It's just over. All of it's over. America first, fix
Okay.
2020, give us access to our election material. You're not giving us anything. These audits are a joke. You're making people pay to audit, and all you're doing is some perfunctory.
Okay, ma'am, your time is coming to a close. We wrap up your comments, please.
I'm trying to. You're demanding money from people, whether it be a citizen or someone that ran for office, to challenge.
Okay, before we go to our next speaker, Supervisor Perez is punched in. Yeah, Supervisor Perez.
Ma'am, nice to see you again. I remember you from last time.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate your passion and your love for Kern County. I really do. I haven't seen this kind of intensity and sort of, tension in some time. Chair, if you would perhaps consider taking a 10-minute recess so that we can confer with our public safety partners to ensure that this does not get out of control, because our chair has asked for the applause to stop. Coming up here and attacking department heads. Okay, sorry, there's order, sir. Okay, this is civilization, and this is order. You're a professional here yelling at the board from the crowd. You should be embarrassed, sir. You should be embarrassed. Jeff, would you consider a 10-minute recess?
Sure. Prerogative of the board, would you like to take a recess? No, okay. I recognize the need for a recess, but I don't think we're there yet. Why don't we continue public comment and have the next speaker, if you're done with your, are you done with your comments, Supervisor Perez? Okay, next speaker, please.
And thank you, Ms. Perez. We really think it's serious, or we wouldn't be here. But we all are going to express it the way we are at any given moment. But
Thank you.
Please hear us.
I appreciate that.
And we want access to those votes. We want a forensic audit. We have offered to pay for it. You're making these individuals pay for it. They can't, and they're not organized enough to collect from us. We didn't know we were going to have to fight this battle. We
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Next speaker,
I
please.
understand. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Jacqueline Garza, and I'm with UDW. I've been a member of IHSS for now about 6 years. I make about 80 miles round trip to Tehachapi to take care of a veteran who has dementia, and he's living with this condition. I make 250 miles a week just to care for someone. Otherwise, he'd have care that there wouldn't be there for him with dignity in his own home. I am only one of thousands of IHSS providers who do the same or more. We're just asking that if you could help us. We are their counselor. We are their friend. We are their confidant. We do a lot of hard, dirty work for them. They have no one. We don't even have insurance for ourselves, but they have insurance. So when we get sick, in order to take care of them, how are we going to take care of them if we don't even have insurance ourselves to take care of ourselves? So we're asking that you can consider us giving us insurance. It's been a long time. We've had no insurance. And to give us a raise, a decent raise. We're working like nurses, counselors, sometimes people with dementia. I've had clients that, they have tried to hit me and do pretty bad things, but I've tried to run away, but I just consider them, and I think what's going to happen to them if they go to a convalescent home. And so we would really appreciate if you hear our voices. We need help with gas, especially that kind of trip all the way to Tehachapi 3 times a day. And there needs to be more workers out there. So we're being a voice for them. If it was your family member that could not afford Medi-Cal, you know, wouldn't you want them to get the best care? So I'm just asking.
Thank you,
Please
Ms.
hear our
Garza.
voices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
God bless you.
Chairman,
Yes, sir. Supervisors, Couch, please.
I apologize for interrupting you. There seemed to be, well, this you might want to stick around for just a moment. I just want to ask Mr. Alsop a question. There's 2 issues here this morning that are kind of dominating the conversation. One is regarding IHSS, and we've discussed that in the past as a board. I just don't know the status of the negotiations that you and your staff would be having with IHSS. Can you brief them on that? Because we've specifically discussed some of the things that they brought up this morning.
Supervisor Couch, through the chair, at the end of last year, we had our last, not a final, but our last meeting with UDW was at the end of last year. There was an offer, there was a proposal provided. They have not set a meeting with us to continue negotiations. The ball is in their court, in their leadership's court, and that's really all I can say.
All right, I appreciate that.
And we presented what your board directed us to present to them.
Thank you. With regard to the other item, I just want to make sure that people know this, because the way our agendas work is a little arcane. I get that. It's hard to understand sometimes, but this item about the previous election, or the elections division, was going to be brought back today. There was going to be a discussion by Ms. Espinoza, who is in the audience today. She felt she needed more time, so the item that Mr. Robles asked to be pulled off the agenda was item 8, and it's simply that item which is being requested to be continued until, is it February the 28th? So that was on the agenda on Thursday afternoon. We weren't trying to hide that. It's not that we are doing something behind closed doors. That's been on the public agenda since when the public agenda comes out, which is Thursday at 2 p.m. And all it is extending the time for the report from elections. Am I saying it right, Ms. Espinoza? Extending the time for the report that was to be given today until to be given on February the 28th. Thank you. Mike, do I have that right, Mr. Alsop?
Just to address what you said.
Yes, sir.
We have countries that count ballots for the whole country in a day. Kern County, what are we going to go into next Christmas before we find out what happened? Just
I thought we were friends, but okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You want to give your name for the record, and we'll start your clock for.
Jess Sanders.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of new liberal laws that has led us to the highest crime in years, the lowest productivity for people, and a minimum of law enforcement. And it's all done in the name of equity. And equity is not about equality, it's about a determined outcome. So our law enforcement is at a minimum, and our crime is at the highest. The last time the Dominion machine was brought before you for renewal, you had no choice but to accept it because of the timeline, and that was a strategic timeline. You were forced to take it because there was no time to do anything other. Hand counts are less expensive, more accurate. I would like for you to defund the Dominion machine, refund our police, and get out of the virtue signaling waste of money. Take our money, protect our citizens, and let them have a transparent vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Judith Olson, Judith Olsson.
You are the honored gatekeepers of my county. I am sure you desire to be fair in your decisions. The apex of fairness is justice. Justice is doing good, correcting oppression, pleading the cause of the powerless, among other laudable acts. Justice is not tolerating the annoying. Justice is not enduring the clamoring. Justice is not ignoring the petitioning. Justice is doing good. We have an anomaly in our world. We use a tool and it uses us. I'm sure you have heard of TikTok. You use it and it uses you to collect your secret data. Our children use their cell phones or yours, and alas, they tune in the screen and tune you out. There are many anomalies in our world, some humorous, some benign, and some downright sinister. Did you know Supervisors Flores, Couch, Peters, Scrivener, and Perez, that when I go as a citizen into the voting booth to cast my sacred vote, I do not go alone? Someone goes in with me. Someone treacherous and duplicitous. Someone who will put their nasty hands on my vote and distort it, break it into pieces, add it, subtract it, switch it, nullify it, subject it to an algorithm. The internet goes in with me to help me vote. This is what injustice is, robbery and wrong. The Dominion voting machines are all of the above. They are a tool to corrupt our voting system. When they are subjected to a thorough search, they are revealed to be the most compromising, debasing part of the voting process. They are an evil tool. I quote Dietrich Bonhoeffer, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless." I'm speaking up. Defund the machines. Use the money to pay for what the union people have requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Olson. Before we move to our next speaker, I wanted to say something about Supervisor Dave Couch and add on to that. So for public comment, this would be the time to speak about elections, Dominion, anything under the jurisdiction of the board. But when we go to the item that was on consent and asked to be taken off, that will be about the continuance proper to hear arguments for or against or comments on the continuance. So thank you.
Dennis McLean, MC, capital Lean. Good morning, board members, staff, and fellow patriots in the audience. I speak again this morning in opposition to the Dominion machines, voting machines, and in support of in-person voting with paper ballots, valid ID, and hand-counted election results. With that said, I ask these questions of the Board of Supervisors and to be on public record. Will this county commit to removing ineligible registrations if proven ineligible? Will this county provide transparency, such as offering rolls for free or for a nominal cost, to ensure fraudulent registration do not reappear? Is this county willing to dump the entire voting roll and require eligible voters to show up in person at the registrar's office to re-register with an ID? This is a reasonable request in exceptionally small counties. Will this county commit to removing electronic voting equipment if they can be proven unreliable? Will this county commit to using only paper ballots counted by hand? If unwilling to abandon electronic voting equipment, is this county willing to hand count paper ballots generated by the machines? This is critical for ensuring total ballots matches the number of ballots checked into vote and on paper tape, machine tapes. Will the county commit to removing and banning unsupervised drop boxes that leave elections vulnerable to malicious actors? This is a big threat if the county in question is within a state that has a banned ballot harvesting. Drop boxes in an election office are a safer alternative for states that vote only by mail. In closing, this county is outside the top 10% of the largest population counties in the state.
Thank you, Mr. McLean.
One more sentence. Sure. Will this county be willing to hold back its votes until the top 10% fully reported their vote totals? This will ensure the larger counties cannot observe the turnouts for smaller counties and simply overwhelm their vote totals after days of counting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors.
My name is Kern Dixon, Kavern Dixon. And the reason I'm up here personally is because last night I've heard David Clemens speak, and what he spoke on is something that goes on from the part of the community that I grew up in, which is over here by Owen Street in California, and which is where there's a lot of gangs and there's where a lot of bad stuff occurs. I experienced that all my life. Throughout my lifetime, I've had guns pulled on me 3 times. My father was a pimp, and I experienced all the negativity there is. What I'm seeing what I'm here now is because my Uncle Osi, and you see me here before with him previously. He has helped me change my life. And what occurs and where I come from, there's a lot of people that say, why vote? It don't matter anyway. When he spoke last night, he proved what my community says, or the area of my neighborhood says anyway. So last night I prayed real deeply. My uncle was the one that helped me change my life and become a better man and made me a better person. So in my prayer, this is one of the things that God hit me with. I'm just a voice crying out in the wilderness, which is the wilderness this time is homelessness. I experienced that. Homelessness is also what we can say is our consciousness, we as fellow human beings, because we're all brothers and sisters under God. I like to say this. The Bible talks about in Revelation, also you heard the phrase says, shit rolls downhill. Also, Reagan mentions the trickle-down effect. I like to say this, that it all equals to our ghettos, which becomes the weakest link in the human chain. So if you want to clean it up, it starts with you. So, and prosperity will eventually be revealed through our families for all to see. So what you do is later on, people are going to look at it and we'll be judged on what we do now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
All right, finally up at the mic today. I just want to say, first of all, I want to say congratulations to Jeff Flores, and the new chair of the board. Congratulations on winning the election and also becoming the chair. I think you're doing a good job right out the gate. Anyway, I'm going to say that
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul Lynn Festy, Lanfesty, and I am actually a constituent of yours, Mr. Flores. I want to say that I am also consider myself one of the people, and I'm also a constituent. And I know other talkers were saying you need to listen to your constituents. So I'm going to be pretty blunt and say, number one, I don't understand how people can expect all ballots to be hand counted and have a report that night at midnight. We are not, a lot of people call politics a contact sport, but the analogy with basketball score doesn't really hold up here because the game isn't running for it. I mean, the state recognizes this. That's why it takes 30 days before they even have to report it. It doesn't matter how quickly the ballots are counted as though they're counted accurately. Now, I started coming to these meetings when people were questioning the county clerk's office before, and one contention was they know that Donald Trump won 2020 in Kern County, and they wanted to have that to prove it to all of you, except that the official record from the county count showed Trump taking Kern County by 30,000 votes. So what their whole contention wasn't even accurate, that somehow the election was stolen here in Kern County. Elections, I'm not saying there doesn't need to be more streamlining perhaps in the office, but I don't know what they're having to work with as far as how many people they have to hire part-time during the election season and not. But I do know that these counting machines are going to be more accurate than if you have hundreds of people, which it would take to do the hand counting. We're a lot bigger county than we used to be, and a lot more registered voters. So I do think, I don't know about the Dominion machines, but everything I've seen from reliable sources show.
What the fuck? Oh, I'm talking. Hey. Order. Let him finish the remarks.
Okay, I'm sorry, I guess my time is now up. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please. Please, let's not interrupt our speakers. Let's show courtesy, please.
I apologize for the language you just used. I'd like to make one point, and it's not a history lesson, it's just a fact.
Your
We
name
do
for the
live in a
record, please.
republic. My name is William Sumner, S-U-M-N-E-R.
Thank you.
If we do live in a republic, not a democracy. We pledge allegiance to the republic, not to the democracy. Under God, I might add. All we're here for is to demand honest elections. Nothing is worse than having your vote not count or to have somebody win an election that didn't deserve it. And there's a lot of talk about that. Over half the polls, over half the people in the polls think there was dishonesty in the elections. I don't see any reason why we should continue the machine. Now, this gentleman said that it would take longer to hand count. I disagree with that. It would not take longer to hand count. It would be less expensive and it would be accurate. And we don't have time to sit up here and tell you how, but if you were really interested, we could tell you how it would be a much quicker and more honest way of counting the votes. So I think we demand that you get rid of the Dominion machine, any ES&S machine or Hart machine. They're all the same type. They all have modems in them. We all know that they can be accessed from the outside, and they have been accessed from the outside, and it can be proven. Dominion has never allowed the source code for us to have to show that they can be hacked and that they have been hacked. So in the name of honesty, I would just like to see you, when you come back, and tell us that why. I want to know what would be the positive points in keeping the machines. We're bringing out the negative. Let's have the positive. Let's have some right now. If you have some. Does anybody wants to say anything? I'll yield my last 12 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Sumner. Next speaker, please.
My name is Linda Ramirez, R-A-M-I-R-E-Z. Few Americans know that in the early 2000s, the Diebold machine, touchscreen machines that were used for voting systems were found to be compromised, were found to be able to flip votes, and they were taken to court. Few Americans know that they got essentially a slap on the back of the hand, and as the baton has been turned from Diebold, now has become Dominion. So it's the same existing fraudulent system that we're allowing to operate. Former President Kennedy, Democratic president, said, "We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy which relies on covert means." One of the things he mentioned was the subversion of our elections. It is a system which is built on a tightly knit, highly efficient machine, combining military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. That warning by President Kennedy on April 27, 1961, has arrived. This vision is no longer one of the future. It is here, and it is now. Never before have I awakened with fear and trepidation for what lies before us. Never before have I ever imagined that striving to be an honest, law-abiding citizen could catapult me, my family, my friends, or fellow citizens into loss of employment, reputation annihilation, or even imprisonment. Our present has now become dark and bleak, and no one knows better than yourselves that we are at the mercy of your decisions. You bear the keys to our future. Will your votes charge our lives to victims of victimhood, or will you choose to rescue us from bondage? It only takes a simple decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, please.
My name is Donald Olson, D-O-N-A-L-D-O-L-S-S-O-N, and this is very short and sweet. I think if you look at the Dominion software machine, you would see where it's made, in red China. And I'm sure the $250,000, $250,000 is a lot of that ending up in China.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Bill Fallgatter, B-I-L-L-F-A-L-L-G-A-T-T-E-R. Thank you, esteemed councilman, for allowing me a few minutes. I love our city here just as you do, and I know you want the best for our city. There's no doubt in my mind that that's true. You're public servants. I think the gist of what I want to say has probably been said in different ways. If there's a lot of people that feel like they're not being represented properly because there's some problems with the voting system, it seems like it would be a reasonable thing to kind of step back and go, maybe we ought to take a look at this for our constituents. It's a just thing that my vote would be counted as I voted. That's justice. Is it maybe social justice? That's a buzzword. But I'd ask you to consider that. I think what I've read, the machines can be compromised, and we shouldn't fund that. Also, it looks like the way we used to do it worked pretty good, and that's hand counting at the primary level and having the results very quickly that way. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Fallgatter.
Okay.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Nayree Davis, Nayree Davis, D-A-V-I-S. I'm not eloquent of speech, but I am here with some fellow citizens, and I just have a gut feeling that something's not right. And I'd like to just say what Winston Churchill said: if you have an important point to make, don't try and be subtle or clever. Use a pile driver. Hit the point once, then come back, hit it again, then hit it a third time, a tremendous whack. And I think that's what you're experiencing this morning from some concerned citizens. So in light of the fact that all of they have said, I do agree with them. And I just wanted to let you know, I just came from the prayer breakfast, the city prayer breakfast, and I know some of you were probably there. And Bakersfield is a wonderful city, a wonderful county, and it's such a privilege to have a prayer breakfast like that. And we pray for you. And I just wanted to let you guys know that a lot of people pray for you, and especially in the position that you're in. So I would like to end with a prayer for you right now. For this reason also, since the day we heard of it, we have not ceased to pray for you and to ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so that you will walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, to please him in all respects, bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God, strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for the attaining of all steadfastness and patience, joyously giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us to share in the inheritance of the saints of light. For he rescued us from the dominion of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. And I just praise you guys and thank you for being our county supervisors. And I ask that you would do right by your conscience and the way that you serve God and Christ.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Davison. Thank you for your prayer. And yeah, we have the second largest prayer breakfast in the United States, right after Washington, D.C. It's a testament to Bakersfield and Kern County. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Chris Kamena, spelled K-A-M-E-N-A. And, I always marvel at the propositions that are proposed to raise our taxes. And I think in my mind, who in their right mind would vote to pass this and pay more money to the government? And I found out about these Dominion machines, and I was thinking, why aren't these machines named the Fair Election Machine? So I look up Dominion, and it says control or the exercise of control. The Cambridge Dictionary says it's a control over a county or a people. The Free Dictionary online says control or exercise of control, and it gives a quote by Jonathan Edwards as using it in a sentence, kind of like, what's the definition? Use it in a sentence, right? Their example is the devil has their souls in his possession and under his dominion. So I'm considering all that, and I think a lot of good questions have been raised here today. But to me, the county has hired a getaway driver when they've contracted with Dominion Systems. And it's enabled them, I suspect, to steal from its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman and members of the board. My name is Victoria Waugh, W-A-U-G-H. I am a born in and raised in Kern County resident. I come to you today with good news. I'm here to remind you that you are the catalyst to the election change that Kern County needs. You all are the change that America needs to be great again. I bring a reminder to every one of you that you can see that the devastation that America has endured for the last 3 years. I'm here to remind you that it doesn't have to stay this way. I'm here to remind you that we, the people, are telling you that we feel the funding for the voting machines is not the answer to bringing the change that America needs. I'm here to tell you that we, the people, request that you withhold the Kern County funding for any future voting machines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Don Musser. I'm from Ridgecrest. This is the 4th or 5th time I've been here to speak before you for election integrity. I sent you all an email on Saturday, I think. I hope that you read it or will read it. I won't cover any of that and waste the time. The reason I brought out where I'm from is because it takes 2 hours to get over here and 2 hours to get back, and I have to use a day of vacation every time I do that. And I think you see that not only me and the rest of the people that have come here to listen, to speak to you, have a strong feeling about what's going on, and we know there's a problem. I want to make sure you think about that. And in my email, I suggested some ways to maybe fix it and way to suggest a way to fund what we need to do. I'm understanding that it actually costs less money to hand count. That we've been told that France has 65 million people. They hand count paper ballots and are done before the night is up. So it can be done. You don't hand count, bringing them all back to this to Bakersfield to do it. You do it in the precinct by the people that know everyone that's in that precinct. I've spent a lot of time working on precincts in the last couple of years, learning about it. And every precinct is around 1,000 people or less. So you don't have that many to count by the people that are there, or you can bring in a new crew. You can save $500,000 in the next 2 years and use that money to hire people to do the work if that's what needs to be done. The voter rolls are a real problem. I spent a lot of time working on that. I shared that information with Ms. Bedard before she left. I got no response. I spoke with Amy Espinoza when she was in Ridgecrest recently. I'm looking forward to see how she handles it. And I'm certainly going to give her the opportunity to do what I think is right and help solve this problem with us. We find out just I'll make it quick. I see I've only got a couple of seconds. We find out that California had almost 11 million ballots unaccounted for. I'm told that it's between $3.50 and $5 to mail out each of these ballots. There's some savings there.
Thank you, Mr. Lesser.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming all the way from Ridgecrest. Next speaker, please. Okay, not seeing any. We will close the public comment. Move on. Okay, next item is item.
Chairman Flores,
I'm sorry.
I wanted to address.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Supervisor Peters, please proceed.
Thank you. I just wanted to say a few words and acknowledge some of the comments that we've heard here. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Musser for coming over from Ridgecrest. We got a chance to talk a little bit Friday, and I look forward to talking again soon. We're hearing a lot of different opinions, different comments about Dominion voting machines, about all these different things. I don't think things are perfect in government by any means. Believe me, I would not have left the oil fields and private business to sit up here and make less money and try and tackle some of these issues if I thought things were going great in government. I wanted to get involved and try and make a difference. But to do that, we need to work collaboratively. You know, I don't like a lot of things that are going on in California. Believe me, we fight against stuff going on from the state every day. They are the ones, the state of California, that mandate which machines we use, how election processes go. I believe there's only 3 machines that we're legally allowed to use in California, and all 3 of those were mentioned earlier. I'm not here to debate anybody. I'm here to share some thoughts and acknowledge what was said today. Again, doesn't mean we have to like what the state of California is doing, doesn't mean we can't push back against it. If I had my way, we would be drilling oil wells left and right. I would get to own guns that my friends in Texas can own that I can't hear. Believe me, there's a lot of things I don't like about California, and I'm trying to push back against that. We have state elected officials that are trying to push back against that. And this board is trying to do everything it can at a local level to ensure that local government runs smoothly. We don't set statewide election laws. We can help push back against them. We can collaborate. We can come up with ways to be more effective. And to address some of the comments that were made about Ms. Espinoza. Ms. Espinoza was just elected. She's just taken office. I think she is going to do a good job. She has the potential to do a good job, and I think we need to afford her that opportunity. I made a referral at the November board meeting, and this board also made a referral in December, because we are concerned about these issues, and we're trying to ensure that our elections department has the tools it needs to operate smoothly, efficiently, transparently, to get answers to people. And I'm looking forward to working with Ms. Espinoza to make sure that happens. But there are certain venues that I think are more conducive to coming up with real solutions. I get the frustration. I get the need to want to come out here and get the message out. But half of the people that I've heard yelling, including Mr. Clements, have never reached out to my office. We've never had a meeting. We've never sat down and talked about it. I look forward to doing that. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm saying that there are ways that we can work together to try and influence some more positive change. And I'm looking forward to doing that in the future.
Thank you, Supervisor Peters.
All this information has been produced to you guys for the last 3 years, and nothing's been done.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to board member announcements or reports. Okay, seeing none. That brings us to item 8 under Auditor, Controller, County Clerk. This is a request to extend response to the board referral made on December 13th, 2022 regarding presentation on Elections Division on February 28th, 2023. And again, this is a matter about the continuance.
You can let Amy speak first.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take you in a bit. We're going to have staff give a presentation first. Ms. Amy Espinoza, would you like to start? Thank you. Welcome.
This has been a long morning. First of all, before I begin on this item, I just do want to say that I do understand that the people who are here, they are concerned citizens. They're concerned with their country, and I appreciate that. It is my intent, as I've shared with all of you and with the people of Kern County who elected me, that I do intend to bring some more transparency to the elections department, to get some answers for people, to work with the constituents of our county to do what is right. Not that things were not done right before, but I taught high school for a year, and I believe that education is really key to this process, and having people understand what the election process really is, what goes into it, what do we have control over, myself as an elected official and your board, who the community brings these things to your board. Supervisor Peters, thank you for your words, and I also want to reiterate that a lot of times the first time I hear some of these concerns are when citizens come before your board to voice them. So that being said, good morning, Chairman Flores and members of the board. On December 13th, 2022 at 9 a.m., your board continued the request for a 1-year renewal of licenses and maintenance for the Dominion voting machines. You also asked that I provide a presentation today on January 24th on the needs of the Elections Division. At 2:51 p.m. that same day, my office received a recount request for State Senate District 16. The initial request, along with the second request, took a month to complete, and it was completed and results were posted last Tuesday, January 17th. The amount of time needed to successfully conduct that recount left me with insufficient time to adequately prepare for the Dominion item and the presentation to your board. This morning, I'm requesting to further continue this item to February 28th to allow me time to adequately assess the short-term and long-term needs of the division, as well as go back and listen to some of these concerns and hopefully provide a response to the community and put some of these items at rest. I appreciate your consideration, and this concludes my comments.
Thank you, Amy. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you so much, Chair. Amy, thank you, and welcome to your new and exciting post as head of elections. It's, as you can see, so absolutely fundamental to how Americans think of this country and think of themselves. It's a big deal. I appreciate your sensitivity to that reality. I am still trying to comprehend, even on the most basic level, this evidence that supposedly has been presented to show that we have a problem. I know that you're not going to present this today. I understand how people feel, and that's real, and we have to address it, and we have to respect everybody. But I haven't even seen even minimal evidence that suggests, either from my county council or from the head of elections, as I have observed for 10 years, ever present something that demonstrates that we have a problem with the way in which the accuracy of the ballots is being presented within the time frame that the Constitution and the state of California provides us. I simply don't see it. I understand there's a lot of hoopla and a lot of show to bring in the circus and demonstrate that the community is, really angry. I appreciate that people are doing that and are angering others coming in from around the country. I can only imagine what they're being paid to do so. It seems like a pretty lucrative operation going on to get otherwise good Americans pretty worked up about their government, when I still to this day have not seen a presentation of evidence to this body that shows me there's a problem. Now, perhaps that's coming, and I am open to that, and I want to hear that, and I want to address any issues that we have. But the idea that there is so obviously problems here, or that you were, as somebody said earlier, defiant in a former meeting, this is more slander than it is facts, as far as I can tell and see. Now, if there's evidence to be presented, I want to hear it. I want to go through with my CAO, my county council, and observe and analyze that evidence. But as to this moment, I just haven't seen it yet. So good luck with your next stage of preparing for this body and this public, what it is our elections division is up to. But I'm still waiting to see the evidence. And I'm sure my colleagues may have a different opinion. I respect them entirely, and I want to work through it with you. But this notion that there's a defiant elections division head and that there's this boatload of evidence that demonstrates we have a problem, I just haven't seen it. And I appreciate that people are upset, and I'm upset too. But certainly evidence that is real, that is presentable, and that is manageable is something I think that has yet to be brought forward to this body. So thank you. Those are just some early thoughts. Chairman, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Perez. Please, any other members of our board before we go to public comment? I'd like to just say a few things. Thank you, Amy, for the rationale and your report. We look forward to bringing this item in the 28th of February. And, that context is important in terms of, having multiple recounts in the closest, tightest Senate race in California with a margin of, I believe, 8 votes. So I want you to do this report, and elections is important. Integrity is important. So that's why it's important that you have the time that's needed to give our board the best report and give the public the best report possible in terms of Kern County elections, its operations. And I look forward to that discussion. I look forward to hearing what we need, what organizational supports you need, because we can all do a better job. All our departments across the county can do a better job. And that's our mission, and I look forward to having that discussion. So at this time, we'll go to public comments, and I'm going to limit public comments to 3 minutes per speaker. 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Again, I'm Ralph Robles. I want to thank Mr. Flores, Ms. Perez, and Ms. Espinoza for their song and dance. Cute. However, evidence is not evidence if you won't let it be presented. We saw an example of that this morning. So I've been coming here for over a month, Mr. Peters, requesting that we have a forensic audit. I want to remind you folks, there are American warriors in Africa under hostile fire. There are American warriors streaming through the straits between Taiwan and communist China under threat of war. There are American warriors in the country of Ukraine right now, making sure that the money that we are spending there to help the Ukrainians is actually going to the Ukrainians. We have people around the world in over 143 different countries under hostile conditions, from swimming underwater for miles in shark-infested waters to jumping from 30,000 feet and falling to only 2,000 feet before opening their parachutes. We have people that have died. I have watched one myself die in the conflicts around the world. We owe these people an honest and fair election. Now, I also remind you that Ms. Espinoza did not recuse herself during the last election, in which her election was at peril. Is that a good word? So her objectivity, I think, is under question. And Ms. Perez's defense of her does not take away from the fact that she did not recuse herself. Your continued obtuseness about a forensic audit, your blindness to the fact that the very same procedure for counting the ballots in District 16 was the one that ran in the original voting process. That does not prove anything except that the same corrupted numbers were recounted again. Your objectivity, I think, is self-apparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robles. Next speaker, please.
My name is Tom Pavich, P-A-V-I-C-H. I am with the Election Integrity Project California. I'm the Kern County Coordinator. I've been in front of this board several times over the last few years. And as you can see from today's comments, there are a lot of people that are dissatisfied with the election process. I have been in front of this board and have asked for answers to questions about the November 2020 election. We're over 2 years now, and these problems don't go away. You cannot sweep them under the rug. I have been stonewalled by the Elections Department. Mary Bedard had committed to providing me with information. If you recall, there was a presentation where our organization determined that there were over 12,000 votes counted in Kern County in the November 2020 election. Then there were people voted. Okay, so you might ask, how does that happen? Ms. Bedard sat in that chair over there and said, well, the reason why is because the voter roll that you're using, which we were given by the elections office, was a roll that was prepared 60 days or so after the election. And so some of those people that voted in the election have dropped off the voter roll. So we were led to believe that over 12,000 people have either died or moved out of Kern County in that 60-day period. That does not seem reasonable. So we have asked for a list of the voters that voted in the election. Mr. Alsop has my letter. This is my 7th attempt to try to get this information. I look forward to the new registrar, Amy Espinoza, to provide this information to our organization. Ms. Bedard said she did not know how to run the report. She couldn't run a report. Folks, if we have an elections office that cannot tell us who voted in an election, then we lack election integrity. And all these folks that came here today and spoke have a legitimate argument. So I ask you, and I ask Ms. Espinoza, who's here today, to please provide our organization. The letter is in your possession. All the details that we've asked for before is in your possession. So if you can do that, that would be great. Supervisor Perez, I'd like to address some of your questions that you had. In the lack of evidence, I've asked supervisors to come down and look at the signature verification that takes place just down the office. We have had dozens and dozens of volunteers, observers, to watch the comparison of a signature on record to the signatures that's on the envelope. And we have documented hundreds and hundreds of signatures that don't match. Come and look with your own eyes and see for yourself. To my knowledge, nobody here has ever done that.
Thank you, Mr.
And I think they have a term for that. It's called plausible deniability. I hope that's not the case. And I look forward in the next election for supervisors to come down and witness that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Pavich. Next speaker, please. Oh, sorry, Supervisor Perez. I need to look.
Tom, thank you for your comments and the manner in which you speak. I always like you. We may not see the world the same, but I enjoy hearing from you, and you're a consummate professional. I think that's a good start, right, as a fellow American. I have been down to the Elections Division many, many times, not within the time frame that you asked, so I think your criticism is still valid, but I have been down there through the last 15 years many, many times watching that verification process because, you know, it all just, it's such a complicated sort of web of widgets that are going on in any election cycle. And you know, that one is subject to human error potentially. And I appreciate that because I'm always sort of baffled and obsessing about that reality. And I've been down there many times and watched the process. So not within the time frame, I'd be delighted to go back again and address issues that are particularly ones of human error and that we need to tighten up and find, you know, better processes for. I totally feel you there, and I appreciate you, Tom, and I think we can work through these and improve them together. I believe that, but I want to say thank you for your manner and your style. It is appreciated. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Perez. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Mr. Pavich, can I ask you a question? What is it that you're here today? I have no idea how hard it is to get this report that you have asked for multiple times. What is it called? Or what describe it again.
It's a list of the people that voted in the election.
And that's the same thing you asked in December, and I asked Mr. Alsop to work with the elections to get
That's
that.
correct. And this is a November 2020 election.
November. The November 2020. I'm going to look at Ms. Espinosa and Mr. Alsop. Can we get that for him today while he's here? We cannot? We can. Sorry.
Excuse me. So Mr. Alsop did forward me the letter, which I had not previously seen. I have heard the request at the board meeting before. And so when I asked staff, there's something with, their understanding is that there's something with the way we pull reports, and it's a point in time. We do have a training with our vendor on Thursday, which I intend to ask about that and to see if there's any way that we can pull data for a period of time. The things that our current employees, the tools that we utilize have been passed down from employees previous, and we intend to utilize our resources to their fullest and to make sure that the things that we're understanding are actually, there haven't been improvements in the program,
Well,
for
there's
example.
a report that, I don't know if this is the same report or not, there's a report that we all have probably all gotten, I'm sure we've all gotten it, that shows the voter roll, and you can see who has voted, not how they voted, but if they have voted in the last 5, 10 elections. Is that adequate, Mr. Pavich, for what you're asking?
No, that's not what we're asking for.
What you're asking, I'm misunderstanding what you're asking for. You just want to know who voted.
Correct. We're asking for a specific list of those. Yes.
Well, this same list will give you that information, I believe, because you look at the entire list and it's got a Y.
But that's a list of all voters.
Right.
And I want a list specifically of those that voted, only those that voted in the election.
Well, this is a list of all voters, and a Y under the 2020 primary and under the 2020 general would indicate they voted in that election. But you don't want the others on the list
Correct.
that didn't vote.
That's correct. And there's a reason for that. Our research people have requested the list to.
Can you sort it by? I got to believe there's a way you could sort this list.
Well, I would think that the election department would be able to make that sort.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It looks to me like it's a, well, you want to comment on that?
So as stated, it sounds very simple. I
Yeah.
am personally going to look at this. Typically, this is not something that I don't know a department head would normally get into the weeds of what their staff are pulling. However, I do understand Mr. Pavich's request and the fact that he has been requesting this for a while. And so I did let Mr. Alsop know that I would personally look into it. And if we can pull it, we'll provide it to him. If it's not exactly what he wants, we will provide some information as far as reconciling items, if there are anything like that. But I really would like to have the opportunity to ask my vendor directly so that I can come back and say this is exactly what it is, not just my understanding of it.
Well, okay. I appreciate that, and I hope that you do that, but please don't wait till February 28th. If your meeting occurs within the next few days, just give Mr. Pavich the list he's looking for.
That is certainly not my intent.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. I just have a quick question, Amy. Is it not possible through the PDI process to run a list from who voted in November 2020? I'm not suggesting that's Mr. Pavich's job. I'm suggesting or asking, is that something that we could do and if we've done before?
I don't know. That's something that I can check with staff on.
Okay. You know, Christian Romo could help you with this. He's a pro. And this is, of course, a tool used on the political side, so you wouldn't be using this, nor should you.
Right.
But that seems like the easiest sort of methodology to get Mr. Pavich what he's asking for without imposing a cost on him or making it unduly burdensome. Just a thought. Christian in my office, and there are other professionals, I think, who could help guide that process as well. But it's just a thought.
No, and I appreciate that, because if it does turn out that we don't have the capability in our system, looking for another solution to get Mr. Pavich the information that he has requested is something that I'm dedicated to.
Yeah, we can even buy PDI and run him the list that it seems like a reasonable request that he's asking.
I agree.
And I apologize, Mr. Pavich, for the delay. It's amazing how often the communication is limited, amazingly so. But I appreciate your attitude, and I have every faith that you're going to deal with his requests. And I think Supervisor Couch's point about sooner rather than later is certainly appreciated. But thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My experience, and it's been a while since I personally requested it, but I know that any citizen, I think, can request a list of the voter file for Kern County, and it comes in an Excel format. And if Mr. Pavich doesn't want that format that lists every voter, and as Supervisor Couch explained, where it marks whether they voted in the primary in 2020 and the general in 2020. Some people don't vote in the primary. Some people only vote in the general. And so you could have people that voted in one and not the other. But, to run what it is he's asking for, I think you can import that Excel file into Access and then run a query that says, says yes on those two entries, and it'll run that and it'll give him only the voters that voted. That's, for my limited IT experience, that would be the way I would do it. But I know we have IT people that are a heck of a lot better at this than I am. And so I think it sounds like it should be pretty simple to give him what he wants. He doesn't want the people who didn't vote. Import it and then run the query, and you should be able to see who voted in each of those elections. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Any other member comments?
Ralph Robles again. With my limited experience with Excel, I am aware that if the report is electronically transferred, then anyone can take that report and resort it to get the information that they want and just ignore the information they don't want.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we had a lot of discussion from the board up here, so I think we've exhausted that. Any more member comments? Supervisor Scribner? No. No. Okay. Okay, come on down.
Thank you. I just had to respond to Mrs. Perez's comment about
Your name for the record, please.
Dennis McLean, MC, capital L-E-A-N. Our current system has mail-out ballots to everybody. Even if you're not a U.S. citizen, you do not have to have a driver's license, show a valid ID. I don't know if she's been living under a rock or what, but there's a heck of a lot of evidence out there that shoots down her train of thought. And you have to look at this open mind. It depends what news you watch, what newspaper you read, which our Californian is liberal as heck. So I just wanted to respond to her comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Any other public speakers before we go back to the board? Thank you.
I might have to take him home, so I'm going to speak for the 2 o'clock meeting, if I may.
Did you see what's on the calendar?
I did, yes. Graciously, she came to, I called a meeting.
Can you give us your name for the record?
Cynthia Calloway. And it's regarding CA number 6 on your paper, which is case number 20 GPA 13 ZCC 32 map 104-30. It's being referred back to staff, which graciously, I'm glad. That was kind of a win in one direction. However, I understand what they're trying to do now is go for R2, which would be duplexes. We still don't want duplexes. We would rather see this property stay as a cookie cutter type property. Single family housing. The roadways around there, Letitia came to our meeting. It was a rainy day. We didn't have as much as a turnout as we wanted to, but we had quite a good turnout.
Very big turnout.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Quite a big turnout, good food, good company. Anyway, she was able to see the roadway, what people are seeing from their backyards, from up above, down below, and so on. And I guess I have a lot of questions for the developer, if this does fly, which I hope it doesn't. Are these going to be type of duplexes like in Kern City? They all have their own carport or / garage, got their own little front yards and backyards. Yeah, they are nice. That would be one direction.
Chairman, do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think I broke the rule there, but, and Director Oviatt's here to save the day. Thank you.
Yeah,
You know, my
and
apology-
also, we're still under item 8 of
Yeah,
AM, but since you're leaving, let's close this up.
Yeah.
This item is on this afternoon's agenda and isn't appropriate to take public comment right now.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I got to get him
Okay,
home
well,
to his
thank you.
wife. I
Thank
will
you.
come back. I will come back.
Thank you.
That's what I was going to say, is that because it's agendized in the PM, we have rules, we got to comment on it in the PM. Otherwise, it goes back to
Understood.
staff, and we can meet again in the future, because
Understood.
nothing will happen.
Thank you.
I'll be back for the 2 o'clock.
Thank
but
you.
I need to
Okay.
get him home.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
good seeing you.
Thank you for your indulgence. Okay, so we're still under item 8, AM session. Does anyone want to speak to that item in terms of the continuance on the elections item?
I do.
Please proceed.
Duetta Riley again. I want to go on record with a demand for a particular report from Amy Espinoza for representing Kern County as our election official. It's called a cast vote record. And we need that for every election, but let's just start with 2020 primary. 18, wherever she wants to start, but we definitely want to start, I want to start and get one in my hand for 2020. I also want to say, I think a great place to start with our forensic audit. Let's see if Amy Espinoza won her election. Let's just look at it. I think Mark McKenzie won that election. Let's go find out. Take the challenge, let's start, and let's get the right official looking at the vote.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Any other public speakers to item 8? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment on this item and come back to the board for any final comments. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval to move approval of the request to extend to what was it, February
thank you.
28th?
Thank you. Have a motion.
A second.
Motion and second. Members cast your vote.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, thank you. Having no more items to discuss in open session, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session to consider the following items under County Council, items 28 and 29.
So moved.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
process, the wedge focus lens and the grading debris shield.
The wedged focus lens and grading debris shields are the two types of optics that are at the greatest risk of damage.
We realized that with the size of the NIF optics, it